Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. What's popping over there in the Manchesters? My guy.
It's pretty lit.
Pretty lit. Is it still cold up there?
No.
I'm not gonna lie, because I've been freezing out down here in Boston. I wake up and it's 46 degrees, and I'm like, whoa, okay. When is summer coming? Because I'd like it to be warm.
In the afternoons, it's pretty warm.
I guess.
It's gonna be, I guess, this week though. This week, by the time you listen to the show, it's supposed to be in the 80s.
In New England.
Yeah. So
People
there's
in
that.
California are laughing at us right now.
I know. It's been in the 80s for 2 months.
Yeah.
Down south.
But anyway, welcome on in. We got a lot to get to in this episode. We're going to talk about, and this is, listen. People are going to they're going to jump in and they just skip right to the rankings part, and they're going to be like, oh, what the hell is this? What are these rankings? This is stupid. These people are dumb. Ugh.
You really would take that guy 101?
This is for the 2022 fantasy football season.
Redraft.
Top 5 rookies for redraft. Now, I'll get to the preface in a second, but that is what this is for. So if you are expecting, dynasty rankings for this, you're not going to get them. Otherwise, it would be completely different.
Yes.
But anyway,
I'd have Garrett Wilson number 2.
Yeah, you'd have him number 1. He's in your drawers.
He might be number 1.
But anyway,
and Jets players 1, 2.
So we're gonna rank the top 5 rookies for 2022. Before we do that, check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcast platforms, please leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Yawning. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below any questions you may have. Are you ready to get it started, Rick?
Let's do it.
All right, so like I said, we're going to talk about the top 5 rookies for the 2022 fantasy football season. So this pertains to guys that we think have the best shot at producing fantasy football relevance in year 1. Now, typically, Rick and I don't draft rookie wide receivers or tight ends or quarterbacks. And mostly, like, sometimes we'll draft a rookie quarterback, but most of the times, like, I saw people drafting Trevor Lawrence in the 8th.
Yeah, that last year was,
And that was just a horrible investment. We typically tell you not to draft running backs at the rookie position as long as they have opportunity or fine to draft. And we will, as the season goes along, and this year's not a great example of that because there was not many running backs. But we'll, as the offseason goes along, review some running backs that you can draft, and we'll talk about a few of them today. So typically running backs are fine, but wide receivers are usually on that list of don't draft year 1. And over the last couple of years, we've gotten some guys that have been very, very good. Jamar Chase was top 5 out the box. He came out, they unwrapped the packaging on that guy, and he came out as a number 1 wide receiver out the box. So, I don't think there's any guys like that this year.
There's not.
We're going to try to give you some wide receivers that can produce year 1 that you might see. Some guys like 3 years ago, you saw randomly Terry McLaurin start going off in his rookie season.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, wow. And he was like wide receiver 17 or 16 that year. So I think that's what you're going to get out of some of the wide receivers in this class. So we're going to try to nail those wide receivers for you on this. But typically we don't tell you to draft rookies, especially at wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end, because it doesn't usually pan out too well. But there'll be people who do it.
Sure.
But anyway, are you ready to get to the top 5 rookies?
Yeah, let's do it.
I know this league right now is blowing up.
I know. A league that we're in, we're probably going to have another rookie draft soon, the way it's going.
Let's go, dude. But anyway, so we'll start at the top with number 1 being Breece Hall. And I think this guy's a running back, if you have not done any scouting. And I would suggest you go watch previous shows that we've talked about Breece Hall. I think to me this is the best landing spot of all the running backs, and I think it's the best. Maybe not the best landing spot because James Cook had a pretty darn good landing spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best landing spot,
but I will say, he has. It's a good landing spot in the context that he is going to get probably a majority of the work.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna look like over there with Carter and some other guys, but I would anticipate he was basically a first round pick with how early he went in the second round.
36 overall, was it? 35, something like that.
So he was fourth or fifth pick in the second round. So he was basically a first round pick. He's gonna get the work. He's the number one running back off the board. Typically a good track record of producing year one. If you're drafted that high. So I think Breece Hall will definitely produce like that. I don't know if this is going to be like a Najee Harris, who was the guy previously in the years before, Josh Jacobs. A guy that jumps into the top 10. I don't know if that's going to be the case because the Jets still kind of blow. And even if Zach Wilson kind of gets some form of improvement, maybe he throws Mac Jones's numbers last year, which would be good. I mean, those numbers were good, but I don't know if that is going to make the Jets offense elite. But I think Breece Hall has the best opportunity to, out of the packaging, be a really good running back.
Yes. And redraft, I think that's valid because if Breece Hall comes right off the bat and is a top, let's say he's RB15 next year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. And you're probably not going to get a top 15 wide receiver between the guys we're going to talk about. So Hall just beats him off that. I do agree. The Jets landing spot is interesting. It's not the best, but it's not bad either. I didn't like it at first. The more I thought about it, I was a little more inclined to it. Yeah. Again, it's still not the best though, but year one, he's going to be the workhorse on the ground at least. Yeah. Michael Carter was a 4th round pick and he showed flashes of being good last year, but he's really a pass catching back. And that he's going to still have a very important role in the Jets offense, but Breece Hall is going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And they didn't add anyone else in the running back position in the offseason. So it's really those two guys. Tevin Coleman, to me, at this point in his career, is, he's going to be a guy who's probably a healthy scratch for a lot of the games. Yeah. Then it really comes down to how good the Jets offense is, which I think we both agree it will be better. It's just a matter of how good is Zach Wilson going to be.
Right.
And if he has Mac Jones like year, their Jets offense will be good.
Yeah, it'll be
but
better.
It won't be, a top 10 offense in the league. So
yeah,
it does cap off Hall a little bit. But he's going to be the goal line back as well. So as long as that offense is at least half decent, he should be pretty good in terms of touchdowns, pretty good in terms of carries. I think he has a little bit of a ceiling in terms of his pass catching work, which is a slight concern. And that's the reason he's not in that Najee Harris level to me from last year, even though I think talent wise, you can make the argument he's up there, but I would still probably say he's gonna end up being like a 2nd round pick. I don't know if he should be,
Holy shit.
but
that's high.
I know, but he's gonna get hyped.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I feel like if he's a top 20 pick, 24 pick in your redraft leagues, right? He's probably going to be like the 12th or 14th running back off the board. And I don't know, to me, if that's the value that I want to hit, because I kind of look at this guy as a mid-range RB2 on the Jets. And I don't know if he's going to be a top 12 running back year one.
Right.
I think he has potential to be a top 15 guy year one, but I just don't know if he can reach that top, RB1 status. So
sure.
I mean,
but either way, he's the top rookie. There's no questions about that.
Yeah, at least for year one. He has the best chance of producing for your fantasy team year one.
Yes.
But so this show is not about whether we suggest you draft
Fantasy
these guys.
Pros has Brees Hall, RB22. So that's a good spot for him. I would take him there.
RB22.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
That's like a 4th, 5th round pick.
Yeah. So I definitely think he has the best chance at producing, but let's move on to the next guy. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Number 2 is Treylon Burks. Now, typically I would have been like, if Tennessee drafted Treylon Burks, I would have been like,
gross.
Wow, that's a terrible landing spot. But
yep.
They moved up and they traded their number 1 wide receiver, A.J. Brown, to the Philadelphia Eagles to get Treylon Burks. Eagles were done with the wide receiver carousel in the first round, so they traded their pick to get one. I think this was more of a lateral move because A.J. Brown was going to cost the Titans an absurd amount of money. And I don't think that they wanted to pay that absurd amount of money for the player. Now, I think they should, but that's on
I agree. I think they should, but
that's on the Titans for making that choice. Treylon Burks, I was watching ESPN, NFL Network, freaking PFF. Everyone kind of comped out Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown pre-draft, during the drafts, whatever. He's basically he's a similar player, play style-wise. So I think they just traded A.J. Brown and drafted a younger version of A.J. Brown and slapped him on the team. We both liked Treylon Burks, but I think, what was he, our 4th guy ranked?
He was my 3rd guy.
Yeah, I can't remember where he was on my list. But so we both really liked him, but there was some drawbacks and concerns, and that we talked about how that could change, with landing spot. And I think Treylon Burks could have the best landing spot of all the wide receivers in this year's class, with the exception of maybe like a Christian Watson or a Sky Moore, where if those guys hit, they're gonna smash. But the chances of them hitting in year 1 and getting that opportunity, I'm not sure I love. But with Treylon Burks, he literally is coming into a team that has Robert Woods, and Robert Woods is not a number 1 wide receiver that takes,
no,
all of that target share.
Good player, but
yeah, he's going to get 120 to 140 targets. But there's still some target share in this offense for Treylon Burks to take over. So
massive.
If I had to peg one rookie wide receiver that has a really good season in 2022 that I'm looking at as a potential upside guy, like, I don't know if this guy's going to go. We'll see if he goes in redraft. If he doesn't end up getting drafted, or he gets drafted between rounds 10, 9 to 15 and doesn't produce week 1 or 2, I could see him as a waiver wire ad early in the season where people are like, holy crap, Treylon Burks, and pick him up, and then all of a sudden he just goes bonkers, for most of the season. So I think he has the best chance of succeeding year 1 among the rookie wide receivers just because of his landing spot and the sheer opportunity.
Yeah. I don't know if this is 100% right. So take it with a grain of salt, what I'm about to say. But I believe the Titans have 350 vacated targets this year because Julio and A.J. Brown are gone. So, Robert Woods is definitely going to take some of that. But my gosh, is there any other rookie receiver who just walks into an opportunity where he could be the wide receiver 1 other than Treylon Burks? And now I like Burks. And like you were saying, he was your wide receiver 4, my wide receiver 3, I believe, pre-draft.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not as good as A.J. Brown, right? We obviously know that. So he's not going to slide in and be a top 5, 6 wide receiver in fantasy.
No,
but
he might get 150 targets.
I don't know if he gets 150 targets, but he's going to get over 100 for sure. I'm thinking like 110, 115, 120.
Yeah. No, that's a safe estimate.
Yeah.
With the 335 vacated targets.
Where do you think he's going to be ranked? Do you think he's going to be a top 20 fantasy receiver?
He could. Not ranked wise, but I think he could end up
I think he could finish
as a top 20 wide receiver.
I would put him in my top 23, 24, looking at a list here.
Yeah.
In the range, like Brandon Cooks right now is wide receiver 22. Jerry Jeudy's wide receiver 23, Cortland Sutton 24, Darnell Mooney 25, Juju 26. I think he could be in that range.
Yeah. No,
for sure. And maybe like, I don't know. He's definitely in that area. So yeah, to me, if I can draft, out of all the rookie wide receiver, if you're going to draft rookie wide receiver this year, it's going to be Treylon Burks. He just walks into a perfect spot.
And there are going to be people who in redraft leagues who play in dynasty leagues who follow this, who really like guys like Garrett Wilson and really like
me,
like Rick. Yeah,
another burner account.
Say it again.
I'll have another burner account for
Garrett Wilson. Yeah. But for Garrett Wilson, or even guys like Jamison Williams, who people really like, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, I think you're going to see go.
Oh, Sky Moore! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, fly up boards.
4th round.
And I feel like you're going to see all these guys get drafted in redraft leagues really, really high because people know that. But then when the time comes, and the season starts and you get through the season, everyone's going to be looking at like a Treylon Burks as the guy who ends up producing year one. And it's just us looking at opportunity. You have all of these vacated targets on the Tennessee Titans of guys who just walked away, or they got cut. And like, what did you say? It was 355, 3 something?
Yeah.
So
something like that.
Like even if
351.
So if you were to say, okay, let's split that right down the middle. Let's split 150 right down the middle or 300 right down the middle between Treylon Burks and Robert Woods.
Mm-hmm.
That's 150 each. And there's still 50 plus vacated targets.
Yeah.
So do I think Robert Woods and do I think Treylon Burks are going to get 150 targets or 175 targets? No.
But there's also Austin Hooper there now as well, who could demand a small target share.
So I think that you're going to see Treylon Burks get a decent target share. I think 120 is safe. That's a safe estimate. And it just depends on efficiency and how good he ends up being year one to figure out what kind of production he's going to get. So I think this guy's definitely pegged as a guy that could really shatter people's expectations for what is going to happen. Let's move on to number 3. Is Drake London, another wide receiver, and this guy actually comes in close second. I think the Atlanta Falcons, where Tennessee, they still have Derrick Henry. They still have Ryan Tannehill. They still have a good offensive line. They have some good pieces there. Their offense is going to be decent, and they're going to move the ball. Atlanta, on the other hand, just traded Matt Ryan. They brought in Marcus Mariota / Desmond Ridder this offseason, and I don't know what Atlanta's offense is going to look like for 2022. It could be just a complete and utter dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I'm not really feeling Drake London year one. So that's devil's advocate. But there's a lot of vacated target share there as well. And with Calvin Ridley being out for basically the whole season because of the gambling thing, and them also losing Russell Gage, among others, there's a lot of vacated targets there that will clear up for Drake London when he comes in. So he could be 120 to 140 target guy as well year one and could shock people. I remember, Rick and I both remember that season that Terry McLaurin did this where he went to a team that blew and ended up with a decent season, wide receiver 16 or 17 in his rookie season. And at the time, before all of these crazy rookies started coming in and blowing us out of the water with where they produced, that is something I see Drake London having the capability of doing, where he goes to Atlanta, has this opportunity, excels with the opportunity, and then, becomes a top 20 wide receiver, probably low-end wide receiver 2 status, and provides for your fantasy team at least as a flex. So, I'm not saying draft him. I don't know where he's going in redraft. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll do our first rookie mock draft. our first mock draft for redraft. But London, if he's going late, is a good investment as a guy that may break out at some point in the first 6 weeks of the season and have some success. He's just capped production-wise because of the quarterback situation and the fact that Atlanta's offense is not going to be good.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with London is the offense isn't going to be good. I don't think the Titans are going to be that great either, but it'll be better than Atlanta's offense. They also have a lot of vacated targets. Again, I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but it says 287. I know Russell Gage is gone. I don't know. Maybe I guess Calvin Ridley, Mike Davis is gone. So there is some targets there vacated. And I think Drake London should be good for 100 plus targets as well. Mm-hmm. Just a poor offense, but other than Kyle Pitts, who is Mariota throwing the ball to?
Right.
I mean, literally nobody. And they threw the ball 573 times last year. I don't know if they're going to throw the ball the same amount. I would guess like 550 with Mariota. And Cordell Patterson obviously gets he had about 69 targets last year, so he out of the backfield will be targeted. Kyle Pitts is going to be good for like 120 targets. Maybe. But then after that, I know he's probably going to have like 140 to be honest. But after that leaves Drake London in line for like 110, 120 targets, similar to Treylon Burks, which, as you said, is I think what McLaurin did his rookie year around there. So I think London is a very safe, solid pick if you're going to take a rookie. I don't know what his ceiling is because, again, what Mariota is going to do. But the bright side with London is he's going to be a red zone threat. So even if his team kind of sucks, like he's going to demand so many passing touchdowns that as long as Mariota throws like 20, London could get like 6 or 7 of them, which would be a decent number.
Yeah, right. Or they throw 20 as a team.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But if London it'll be London or Pitts, but
I would not be surprised if he does, 3 or 4 touchdowns, but still ends up a wide receiver too because of the sheer work that he's getting yardage wise. Sure. So
the type of player London is though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he's going to be the red zone threat. I could be wrong, but
right. But yeah, there's going to be work for London. That's for sure.
He's the clear number 3 guy though, I think. After the top 3 for the rookies, I think there's a little bit of a drop off. But if you're going to get a rookie wide receiver, yes, for 2022 for redraft this year. But London is a solid option.
Okay. Let's talk about the 4th guy, who is Kenneth Walker, running back for the Seattle Seahawks. He got drafted somewhere in the middle of the 2nd round, I believe. So obviously there's some value there. There are some concerns to start off with Kenneth Walker. I like the player. He was at times he was my RB1 pre-draft. And I just wanted to see where his landing spot was. Obviously not the greatest landing spot in Seattle. They got rid of Russ this offseason, added Drew Lock, who they believe in, but I don't know if anyone else does. But I think for me, when I look at the Seattle Seahawks situation, there's 2 issues that kind of arise. The first one is Chris Carson, Rashad Penny still happen to be in existence in Seattle, and he walks into the room most likely as the 3rd running back, which is not a good starting point. He is a 2nd round pick, so I think that 2nd round value will push him up. I think they'll keep Penny and maybe cut Carson if I had to guess, but he's one of those guys I feel like at some point in the season he's going to take over. He kind of reminds me of like a Javonte Williams last year who joined a heavy backfield on a team that really didn't have the best offense and who turned into having some decent fantasy matchups and decent fantasy production. So we'll see what Kenneth Walker can do. It might take a couple of weeks for him to kick into high gear, but I definitely am not afraid of drafting him. But I think the second problem is Seattle is not going to be a good football team. They're not going to be a good offense. Now, maybe I'm wrong and Drew Lock ends up being really good and DK Metcalf, brings his game through the roof, and all of a sudden
throws 50 touchdowns.
All of a sudden, Drew Lock ends up running an offense that ends up being good, and Walker's in the backfield just shredding everything up. And there could be a situation where that happens, but most likely, Seattle is going to not be a great offense this year, and that might cap what you get from Kenneth Walker. But I think there is definitely some stuff there where if he does have a good year and he takes over the starting role, just with the sheer amount of volume that he could get because Seattle runs the ball so much, I think it's a good thing for Kenneth Walker. And I think he could take a lot of work and end up being somewhere in the RB2 range, probably a little bit lower than Breece Hall, but be in that range. And I think he's going to be more of a value pick over Breece Hall, where people are going to take Breece Hall and start sweating. Kenneth Walker's probably going to be a 7th or 8th round pick, so he's a little bit more valuable. But that's why he's the 4th guy.
Yeah, if Walker's there in like the 7th, 8th round, I think that is very solid value for him. My only problem with Seattle, even for this year, it's not really about the depth chart, because I do agree it could be like a Javonte situation where it starts off very crowded, but Walker ends up being the best guy, and I think he will end up showing that. Like Chris Carson, to me, I don't even know if he makes the team this year with his injury history and his age. Yeah. And then Penny, obviously, I think will probably get the first look, but Penny is, an injury away from being out of it. So Walker's going to get the opportunity. I think I just agree with you with the Seattle offense. Like Drew Lock, I don't see being that great. And the Seattle offense wasn't even that great last year.
I never said it was going to be good.
Oh, no, I said I agree.
Oh, okay. I thought you said I disagree. I'm like, I must have talked too much about a possible breakout for Drew Lock.
No. I mean, you're right. It could have. You did say it could happen. It could, but I don't really see it happening. But yeah, last year Seattle's offense was like 19th or 20th in terms of overall total offense. That was Russ Wilson playing like 12 games. Yeah. He didn't play the whole year, but still, he played in a good chunk of it. And then in terms of total plays ran, so Seattle last year threw the ball 495 times and ran the ball 413. They were dead last in the NFL in plays ran. Do you think that's going to change with Pete Carroll?
Not at all.
So if you're not a good offense and you don't run a lot of plays, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. Like, I do think Walker is going to get a lot of touch. Like, he could get 200 carries right off the bat. I'm just very concerned about the situation there in Seattle, but I do think he has a good value, especially if he's going that late in redraft. And he's definitely worth a flyer shot. I'm just concerned that, and also the passing game. And I'm not one of the people that believes that Walker can't catch the ball in the backfield. But Seattle's another team that, like, do you think Drew Lock's going to dump it off every time? Or is he going to just chuck it down the field with Metcalf?
To be honest with you.
Yeah, that's true. I think Geno might dump it off, but
yeah,
I feel like Lock will just throw a bunch of Hail Marys.
No, I know.
Those 10 interceptions. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm okay with taking Kenneth Walker in a redraft, but there's a reason he's number 4 for me.
Yeah. Let's talk about the next guy. Number 5.
For this year.
All
right, number 5.
Chris Olave. And so that, you might be like, well, where's Sky Moore?
Garrett Wilson.
Not here on this list. Christian Watson and Garrett Wilson all are guys that I do like, but I don't think they're going to be.
Just redraft. Like, for Garrett Wilson, I'm just a little scared because Zach Wilson has to be good.
Yeah.
In order for him to be good this year.
Right. And you also have Elijah Moore there, who had a good season this season prior. Sure. And you still have Corey Davis and some other things.
Sure.
So, and then Sky Moore's over there, and you might think that's a good situation for him. But he's basically just Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the wide receiver position for the Chiefs. I think guys like Juju, Mecole Hardman are going to take a lot of work. You still got Travis Kelce there. So it's more than likely.
Yes, and I think Juju will as well. I'm not a Hardman guy, but
no, I think all of those guys are going to have a factor, and I don't know that Sky Moore in his rookie season is going to shatter things.
Sure,
and I think people are going to expect him to because he's playing with Mahomes.
Yeah, right.
It's the same thing for Christian Watson, who also happens to be an honorable mention as well. I think
Watson, though. Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll make my point. I was going to say with Watson, I think he'll struggle maybe a little bit because the Packers have like the rite of passage and Rodgers has to trust you. So that will take time. But I think there is a chance Watson second half of the season could be like the Brandon Ayuk type of run. Yeah. What Ayuk did in his rookie year where he had like 6 straight weeks of 10 plus points, but it took him a while. And I think Elijah Moore was like that last year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He had like, it took him like half the season, but he then had a run of multiple double-digit point weeks. I think Christian Watson could be like that this year, but it'll take him some time to get going.
Yeah. So those guys are definitely good players, but the guys that we listed here, we think have the best opportunity to have 2022 success. So Chris Olave makes that list for us. Yes. I think Jameis Winston is a decent quarterback. We've seen him quarterback his way to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both having top 15 wide receiver seasons. So a guy like Mike Thomas coming back isn't really going to hurt Chris Olave. There is no one else in that receiver core that I would be worried about, not even close to worry about. So Olave is going to be the number 2 wide receiver off the bat. We know Michael Thomas's injury history. And with that first-round draft capital that the New Orleans Saints used, they use a first-round pick on him, right?
11th overall.
11th overall. With that draft capital, they are going to want to
trade up to get him
early and often. Mm-hmm. And because of that, there's a good chance that we'll see Chris Olave have a decent rookie season. Now, this is a football team also that kind of moves the ball slow. If you look at and we'll see if the offense is replicated the same way that it was with Sean Payton. I'm assuming that it's going to be because he the same staff is basically there.
Same OC.
But for their offense, like last year, there were games where Jameis Winston threw 3, 4, 5 touchdowns and only had 120 yards through the air. And it's stuff like that that's just like insane. So I don't know what it's going to look like for them. Obviously, we need a 4,000 plus yard season and maybe 30 plus touchdown season out of Jameis Winston in order for Olave to have big success, especially when you have Michael Thomas on the other side of the field. But I think with both of those guys, it'll draw attention away from Olave. Olave won't have that same kind of, like when you look at Treylon Burks, he's going to be the number 1 guy on the field for the Tennessee Titans. It's going to be hard for him because they're going to just throw bodies at him. You know what I mean? It's good that they have Robert Woods on the other side, but I don't know that people fear Robert Woods. And I look at Chris Olave being in the same situation where he could end up like breaking out year 1 and having a really good season because he's on a team with a decent offense, decent quarterback, and can move the ball.
Yeah, I agree. I think Olave just slides right in there as that wide receiver 2 on a decent team that can move the ball, like you just said. So he doesn't have the ceiling of a London or a Burks to me. But he can still slide in year 1 and see, what did Devontae Smith have this year? 106 targets?
Yeah.
I think you could see something like that where he could slide in, get 100 targets, 106 targets, be the wide receiver 2 on a team that is not that bad. And Winston can produce numbers and will probably throw a decent amount of touchdowns. He's good for that. Might throw a lot of interceptions, but it doesn't affect Chris Olave. So, yeah, he's going to slide in. He'll have some good weeks. He'll be very solid. And I think he's worth a shot there and redraft and best ball and all those things. But if you are going to take a rookie receiver, I would definitely put London and Burks ahead of him for the upside. But again, Olave just slides right in there. And he's a solid player and a good fit for the Saints as well. And they traded up to get him. They traded up from 16 to 11 to make sure they got him, and they took him over Jameson Williams as well. So they clearly have faith in the prospect, in the player. So they're going to use him, and he should have at least a decent rookie year.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else on these guys?
I would just say that the reason we put him ahead of some of the other guys is I think he just has that better shot, I guess, of producing year 1 than a Sky Moore, who a lot of people would disagree with us on, but that's why.
Yeah, I don't like.
I'm still drafting Garrett Wilson.
There's a lot more competition over there too. So I don't know.
Right. Exactly.
It's going to be challenging for them. But anyway, there you have it. Top 5 rookies for the 2022 fantasy football season. Breece Hall, Treylon Burks, Drake London, Kenneth Walker, Chris Olave. A lot of interesting guys. This is the last time we'll talk about rookies. They'll mixed in with our redraft content, which starts next week. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you Tuesday.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.